The movie set murder. The first thing they told us was that nobody was supposed to die. That sounds obvious now. At the time, it was part of the production meeting. The director said it jokingly. The insurance representative said it seriously. And the assistant director said it 3 times. Nobody dies on this set. Everyone laughed. Nobody should have. 1. The last scene. The movie was called The Hollow Man. It was supposed to be a murder mystery. A wealthy family gathers at an isolated mansion during a storm. One of them is secretly a murderer. Everyone has a motive. Everyone lies. Someone dies halfway through the film. It was expensive, but not Hollywood expensive. The studio had built an enormous Victorian mansion on an abandoned soundstage outside Los Angeles. They had constructed bedrooms, hallways, a dining room, a library, even a fake basement beneath the house. The entire interior could be rearranged overnight. The lead actor was Adrian Vale. Everyone knew Adrian. He was 53, handsome in the carefully maintained way that made handsome men look slightly frightening. He had been famous for 30 years. He was playing Detective Elias Crane. And he was very good. Too good, according to some people. There were rumors about Adrian. Drugs. Affairs. Blackmail. An incident in London involving a hotel maid. Another involving a producer who had supposedly disappeared from the business after threatening to expose Adrian. Nothing was ever proven. Hollywood doesn't require proof. It requires whispers. The night Adrian died, we were filming the murder scene. Ironically, it was the final scene of the movie. Detective Crane discovers the murderer. He walks into the library. The killer is waiting. The lights flicker. The storm outside becomes deafening. The killer raises a revolver. Bang. Cut to black. Except we weren't using blanks. The gun was supposed to fire a compressed air squib. No projectile. No bullet. No possibility of death. That's what the armorer told us. At 11:47 p.m., Adrian walked onto the set. At 11:48, the cameras rolled. At 11:49, he died. 2. Cut. The scene was beautiful. I remember that. That's the horrible part. Rain hammered the windows. Lightning flashed outside. The fake grandfather clock ticked. Adrian stood beneath a chandelier, holding the script in one hand. Across from him stood Clara Voss, the actress playing his sister. Clara was 32. Beautiful. Quiet. And absolutely terrified. Nobody understood why. The director called. Action. Adrian smiled. You killed them. Clara whispered. You were never supposed to find out. Adrian stepped closer. I always find out. She raised the revolver. Adrian looked directly into the camera. Then he said something that wasn't in the script. I'm sorry. Clara fired. Bang. Adrian jerked backward. He hit the desk. Then collapsed. Cut. Nobody moved. The director smiled. That was incredible. Adrian didn't move. The director waited. Adrian. Nothing. Then Clara screamed. Real screaming. Not acting. She dropped the gun. Blood was spreading across Adrian's shirt. The medical team rushed onto the stage. Someone shouted for an ambulance. Someone else shouted, Where's the armorer? Nobody knew. The strange thing was that the armorer had been standing beside the cameras. And then he wasn't. 3. The bullet. Adrian was dead before the ambulance arrived. The police locked down the stage. The production shut down. Every actor was questioned. Every crew member was searched. The revolver was taken as evidence. The armorer was found 2 hours later. He was sitting in his car, 3 miles away. He claimed he didn't know how he'd gotten there. His hands were covered in blood. Not Adrian's. His own. He had apparently bitten his palm until it bled. The police asked him what happened. He kept repeating one sentence. I didn't load it. Then, I didn't load it. Then, I didn't load it. There was no ammunition missing from the armory. No bullet casing was found. No projectile was recovered from Adrian's body. The medical examiner found a single circular wound beneath Adrian's left rib. The bullet had entered, but it hadn't exited. Yet when they opened him up, there was no bullet. Nothing. Not even fragments. The police thought someone had removed it, but there was no surgical incision, no exit wound, no explanation. Then they discovered something else. The gun had fingerprints on it. Clara's, Adrian's, the armorer's, and one more. Partial print. A fingerprint belonging to someone who wasn't supposed to be there. 4. The prime suspect, Clara Voss, disappeared the next morning. That made her guilty. At least that's what everyone assumed. Her apartment was empty. Her car was still parked outside. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. Her passport was in a drawer. Her purse was hanging beside the door. The only thing missing was her. Police searched everywhere. Nothing. Then they reviewed the footage from the movie set. There was Clara. There was Adrian. There was the crew. There was the director. There was the armorer. And there was something else. At exactly 11:49 p.m., when Clara fired the gun, the camera captured a figure standing behind Adrian. A man. Tall, thin, wearing a black suit. His face was turned away from the camera. Nobody remembered him being there. Police enhanced the image. The figure wasn't reflected in the windows. He wasn't reflected in the polished floor. He wasn't reflected in the mirror behind him. He was simply standing there, like a person who had been painted into the scene. Then the forensic team discovered something impossible. The figure was visible in footage from every camera. Even cameras pointed in completely different directions. He was always standing behind Adrian. Always. 5. The old film. 3 days later, a production assistant found something in the studio archives. It was an old film reel. No title. No date. Just a handwritten label. The Hollow Man. Original. The current movie was supposed to be an original screenplay, but the reel was from 1978. Nobody knew why. The studio archivist threaded it through a projector. The footage showed the exact same mansion, except the mansion hadn't been built in 1978. Or at least it wasn't supposed to exist. The same library. The same chandelier. The same grandfather clock. Even the same crack in the fireplace. Then the film showed a murder. A man playing Detective Elias Crane walked into the library. A woman raised a revolver. Bang. The man fell. The footage cut. Everyone watching laughed nervously. Then the archivist froze the frame. The dead actor was Adrian Vale. Exactly as he looked when he died. Same age. Same clothing. Same wound. The film had been shot 48 years earlier. Adrian wasn't even 20 years old at the time, and he was clearly visible, dead on the floor. 6. The director. The director, Martin Greaves, refused to watch the reel. He told the police it was a coincidence. Then he quit. The next morning, they found him in the soundstage. He had hung himself from the chandelier in the library. The same chandelier from the movie. The same chandelier from the 1978 film. Beside his body was a piece of paper. For words. We already filmed this. Police assumed it was a suicide note. Then they noticed something. The handwriting wasn't Martin's. It was Adrian's. 7. The room behind the wall. The police searched the set again. This time they discovered a door. It wasn't in the plans. It was hidden behind the library bookshelf. Nobody had built it. At least nobody currently working on the production admitted to building it. Behind the door was a narrow hallway. The walls were covered with photographs. Hundreds of them. Actors. Directors. Crew members. People from old Hollywood. Some photographs were decades old. Some were from the previous week. Some were from the future. They found one photograph of the police detective standing in the hallway. Taken from behind him. He was looking at the photographs. He hadn't been photographed yet. Then they found Clara. She was sitting in a chair. Alive. But the photograph was dated. October 14th, 2031. The detective dropped it. Clara had disappeared in 2026. 8. The last reel. The strange hallway eventually led to a projection room. Inside were thousands of film reels. Every reel had a person's name. The detective found Adrian. Then Martin. Then Clara. Then himself. His own reel was labeled, Detective Hollis, Final Day. He refused to watch it, until the projector turned on by itself. The film began. It showed the detective entering the room. Then it showed him discovering the reels. Then it showed him watching the film. He watched himself watching himself. Then the image changed. Adrian appeared. He was standing in the library. Except Adrian was supposed to be dead. He looked directly into the camera and said, "Stop watching." The detective backed away. Adrian continued, "You think the movie is about a murder?" He smiled. "It isn't." The film flickered. Then Adrian whispered, "It's about casting." 9. The twist. The police eventually discovered what had happened, or what they thought had happened. The original movie in 1978 had never been released. During production, the entire cast disappeared. Every actor. Every crew member. The studio buried the incident. The film was sealed away, but someone had continued making it. Over and over. Different actors. Different decades. Same mansion. Same characters. Same murder. Every production ended the same way. The lead actor died. The actress playing the killer disappeared. The director killed himself. And the film disappeared. Until the next production. The movie wasn't cursed. It was unfinished. Something inside the original film required a particular ending. A real death. A disappearance. A suicide. And every time the production got close, reality seemed to rearrange itself to complete the story. But there was one final revelation. Adrian had known. He had discovered the original film 6 months before production began. He didn't take the role for the money. He took it because he wanted to find out what happened to the missing actors. And because he believed the movie was choosing people. 10. Clara. Clara was eventually found. Not in another city. Not in another country. She was found inside the soundstage. Behind the wall. But when police opened the hidden door, Clara was sitting inside the projection room. She looked exactly the same. Not injured. Not frightened. Just exhausted. The detective asked her what happened. She looked at him. "I didn't kill Adrian." "Then who did?" Clara pointed toward the projector. "Adrian." The detective stared at her. "He's dead." Clara shook her head. "No." She swallowed. "He was the murderer." "The murderer of who?" She whispered. "Everyone." Then she looked at the screen. The projector began running. New footage appeared. Adrian was standing in the library. Alive. He looked directly into the camera. "Hello, Clara." She began crying. Adrian smiled. "You found the door." 11. The final scene. The detective watched the film. Adrian explained everything. The movie wasn't being made for audiences. It was being made for the thing watching it. Every murder gave the story more reality. Every actor who died became part of the film. Every person who watched the film became connected to it. And every production moved the story closer to completion. Adrian hadn't been murdered. He had been written out. His body was simply what remained after the film removed him. Clara hadn't disappeared. She had been moved into the story, and the detective realized why his own reel existed. He wasn't investigating the movie. He was the next character. The projector stopped. The screen went black. Then a voice came from behind him. "Cut." The detective turned. Adrian stood in the doorway, perfectly alive, wearing the same bloodstained shirt. The detective raised his gun. Adrian smiled. "You're going to ruin the ending." Then the lights went out. 12. Epilogue. The studio was demolished 6 months later. The official explanation was asbestos contamination. Nobody talked about Adrian Vale. Nobody talked about Clara Voss. Nobody talked about the missing director. The case remained unsolved. The movie was never released. But one copy survived. A film editor secretly transferred it to a digital file before the studio destroyed the evidence. He uploaded it anonymously. It appeared online at 3:17 a.m. The file had no title, no description, no credits. Just one frame, a black screen, with white letters, "The Hollow Man." Then, "Final cut." The editor watched it alone. For 93 minutes, nothing happened. No movie. No sound. Just blackness. He assumed the file was corrupted. Then, at exactly 1 hour, 33 minutes and 12 seconds, the screen changed. It showed the editor sitting at his desk, watching the movie. He leaned closer. The camera angle was behind him. Someone was standing in the doorway. A tall man. Black suit. Face hidden. The editor slowly turned around. The doorway was empty. He looked back at the screen. The figure was closer. He turned again. Nothing. Back to the screen. Closer. Again. Nothing. Then the figure appeared directly behind him on the monitor. The editor whispered, "Who are you?" The figure leaned toward the camera, and finally showed its face. It was the editor, except older. Much older. His mouth opened. But the voice that came out wasn't his. It was Adrian Vale's. "You're not watching the movie." A pause. "You're auditioning." The screen went black, and somewhere inside the computer a microphone clicked on. Recording. The editor heard his own voice coming from the speakers, reading lines he had never seen before. "The first thing they told us was that nobody was supposed to die." He stopped breathing, because he recognized the words. They were the opening lines of the movie, and beneath them, appearing one letter at a time, was a new title. The movie set Murder 2. Cast 1. Status: filming. Scene U. Then the camera on his laptop turned itself on and began recording.